Hello, this is Tom from Tom and Ruth Podcasting. Today, I'm going to talk about something on how the Philippines has changed, and how it's actually changed me, and it's actually changed me personally to the better. The Philippines itself. When I left USA, I was tired. I got to the point to where I was actually tired of working and things like that, and I thought the world was coming to an end because I was tired of what's going on in the politics, like everybody else, when they decided to come here. But after being here for a few months, I realized that none of that stuff really mattered anyway. That USA wasn't really a bad country. USA had a lot to offer, and it opened up my eyes a lot of times just by getting out of the country and relaxing, going on vacation. And I think maybe that sometimes some of you guys maybe want to do that: is come here, check things out, live here for a period of time, or even stay here for a period of time, or come here when you can, a couple of weeks, a year, or 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, however you guys can work it out. But I noticed too, when I first arrived here, there was no such thing as, they had very few, there was no coffee shops, there was no quesadilla places, there was no milk teas and things like that they have now. And I did notice this, and I mentioned this in the other video I just did for Tom and Ruth, that when I first arrived here, everybody was thin, including myself. And now you have to really search to find somebody that's thin. Even the young kids. Young kids are probably bigger than they ever have been, so they adapted to Western lifestyle. One thing I do have to say that they really adapted here to the lifestyle is that they seem to adapt to the lifestyle of eating the foods, Americanized, the phones, the chatting, social media. I mean, they've taken over the market in social media. If you would look online and look everywhere, Filipinos probably have more Facebook accounts than anybody in the world, and they probably have more contacts and more things going on in the world than you would ever think. I know for me, I'm not really I'm a gadget person, but I'm not really a gadget person. I don't mind talking on the phone. I don't mind talking to people. I don't mind talking to friends. I don't mind doing any of that stuff. But I do find that after a while, I'm kind of done with it, just like everybody else is. Because I had a phone with me all the time and it was constantly ringing. I mean, I'm serious. My phone would go off 200 times a day, easy. One day I counted it. So, because it's like, there was no peace. And it started at 6 in the morning. It did not end at 6 at night, sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. But then that was bosses and, things like that. But here in the Philippines, it's more of a calmer atmosphere. And it does give you the availability that you can rest. If you can get past the karaoke, if you can get past the horn honking, if you can get past the roosters, if you can get past all those things, because their 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 relaxedness for that is incredible. Okay, you can relax here. You can take a nap, and you can be fine if you can take a nap. A lot of guys, what they did, they just soundproof their rooms or their house to where they can take a nap anytime they want to, and they put an air conditioner with a generator and or solar, and they don't worry about a thing. But then you can only relax so much. Then you find yourself running around, maybe a little bored than you used to be, or maybe something that you used to were able to do in the States, you can't do it here because it's limited. You're limited on your environment. You're limited on things that you can do. They're limited on things where you can go and see, and limit on things that give you the availability that, okay, we'll go to the cinema today. Well, here's the cinema, don't change that much, but in the States you can go to cinema in this area. 5 miles down the road, go to another cinema, it's different movies, and go another 5 miles, and there's a different movie, and go another 5 miles, because some areas will have, I know there in Daytona and Port Orange, there's probably 6 or 7 theaters at one time. I don't know how many there is now. So it gave you the dollar, the 50-cent movies, and then it gave you the ones that cost you $5 to $8, $10 to take a person to the movies. Now here, it's expensive to take someone also. It's not cheap to take someone to movies here. It's still $5 or $6 or $7 per person to go in. And then they get you on the popcorn and all the other stuff. So it still costs the same in the long run, because goods cost more. The services do not, but the goods will cost you more. And you'll find yourself maybe in that area. A lot of guys are struggling because how much has changed here, and what's happened is the infrastructure itself is faltering on not internet but electric. The grids are failing here like crazy, just like they are in the States. Except here, it's a little worse. They're on and off, a lot more than they ever were when I first arrived here back in the day. But here, on the other hand, they're changing. They're trying to change for the better. But what I've noticed is it's actually probably gone backwards than going forward. It's gone backwards for me. That used to I could do this, now I can't do this. I don't ever remember my internet ever going down in where I lived when I first came here. I don't ever remember having a brownout. I'm sure we did. Maybe I just didn't care. I don't ever remember having a problem finding good food that I could eat on a regular day. Now it's a struggle. You go to town, you buy chicken and things like that, but it's small size for $5, $7. And they saturate it with this lemongrass and or things. It's edible, it's okay, but then again too, back in the day, I didn't notice it. And to me, I did not know they use the birds that are sick, and they'll cook them and eat them up and give it to us to eat. But even in the States, you don't know what's going on there. You don't know what's happening there. But the Philippines has changed considerably. There's seem to be more retail outlets, more franchises, the 7-Elevens, the Burger King, the McDonald's, even the Jollibees. They are putting Subways in. They're straggling them around. There are other franchises like Max. There's quite a few other ones that I haven't seen. Greenwich Pizza, Yellow Cab Pizza. There's a lot that are actually coming that you can actually buy a franchise on and open up a business. But it seems to be getting overly saturated, and the ones that are making the money the most are the rich, the ones that can afford the $500,000 cash U.S. or the $1 million in the bank required to do that. Even opening up a franchise back in the day with Subway was really inexpensive here. But like anything else, it's gone so much out of sight that you have to have at least 500,000 U.S. cash and up to $1 million available, or $2 million cash to even open up a franchise. And then sometimes they got it set where they actually own the building themselves and the property, and you just lease it out like Chick-fil-A does in the United States. Chick-fil-A owns all their buildings and lands in the United States, and you just buy the franchise and they get a piece of the pie. Subway and some of the ones here that are doing, that's exactly what they're doing. 7-Eleven is the same. They own the land and property, so they'll always have it. If a franchisee wants to go out and get out of the business, they just buy them out as far as they don't have to worry about selling the property because it's not owned by him anyway. Now, a lot of the times, too, is I've noticed a big change here is finding, it's a problem still finding clothes. You can have them made, but I noticed too that the selections have gotten a lot worse. I could find something that for me that I could even wear. When Ruth and I were out of CDO, I went to the mall and I just casually looked in the store for shirts my size, just for the heck of it, to see how much they're going to cost me. Well, as I was looking at that and how I was thinking about that, I realized, I says, this is even worse than it was when I was here 7-8 years ago. Well, what happened? What happened to the clothes? I can't find any clothes now. So it's gotten to the point to where couldn't find anything. And I'm talking the whole mall. Before, when I first arrived, I could find stuff that would fit me somewhat. Now, although I did gain weight, but extra large is extra large and 4X is 4X, right? Or 5X, 5X, or 6 or 7 or 8, triple X. But that has changed considerably too. On a positive note, even though I'm talking a little bit on a negative, the positive note is the service is still basically the same, but they have gone up in prices, the dental care and things like that. And the services that are in it, even though they're producing more doctors and more dentists and things like that, nurses here, and they're doing it, but the change also is they're more leaving the country now than they ever did before because they want a better life and more money. So that has been a big factor. And that has affected here in the Philippines because everybody says, I'm going out of the country because I ain't making any money. And I had this talk with my doctor. He says, yeah, I could go to Singapore right now and get a job. And he doesn't because of his family here. His wife is here and the family is here, and he's not willing to do it this time. But he said he could go there and easily make, $8 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand a month, U.S., where he's lucky to make $1,000 to $1,500 a month on the high side, he said, as a doctor here. He owns a lab and all the other stuff he's invested in, so he's here to stay because he sees an opportunity. If he seizes that opportunity, he'll probably have a pretty good practice here, and where he can make the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a month eventually. But as time is going on, I'm seeing a trend here that a lot of the Americans that are coming here are going back to the States for the health care and things like that. That is a big factor. It's changed considerably here, where the guys are actually saying, oh, okay, I can actually come here and be okay, but then I have to fly to Guam to use my Medicare. They put a bill in Congress that, okay, we'll get Medicare going here. That'll never happen because the software system's not up to speed, and they will never be able to train those guys. It would take them probably 2-3 years to even get that even in effect, and it would probably only a select few places. And I can only imagine what that would be like, a nightmare. TRICARE has also changed its format here. It's changed. They are not now doing a lot of services here that they used to do at one time. What I mean by that is they're limiting their services. They came out in January 2024 that some services are going to be limited. So if you're sick and you have a problem, they're limited here as far as coverage. You have to fly to Guam, or you have to fly somewhere else, or Thailand, and get your work done, or back to the States. They are giving better care there than what's happening here. So they had to limit some of the services because the doctors are leaving. So, and a lot of the nurses are leaving, all the qualified people. Even our doctor is saying he's having a hard time finding good qualified people to work for him as med techs and things like that, because they're going to school and they're learning, and there's opportunity for that, and a lot of them are seeing opportunities elsewhere. I mean, Dubai, Saudi. You don't think that people in Dubai have an opportunity to go to Dubai? Dubai will accept you. Saudi will accept you. Hong Kong will accept you. There's many places. Thailand will accept you as a nurse. There's so many places that these girls have opportunities. But then again, too, they really want to go to the U.S. where they can really have a good future. Not necessarily to go in Thailand is going to be a good future. Not necessarily saying Saudi is going to be a good future. So, because even though you're there 30, 40 years and retire, you want to come back here. You want to come back here with some type of retirement and or cash. And the failure there is that most of the people going overseas now is working, and they're not able to make enough money for themselves and send money back here for their family. And so a lot of families are struggling on the high end. And so you see a lot of that where a lot of guys are doing really well at the time, but when they come back here, they are saying, "Hey, I don't have any money because I had 100,000 peso left or 200,000 peso after working all the years." So 4 or 5 grand is not going to be enough for them to last 2 years or 3 years. How long would you last on $4,000 or $5,000 here? So that's really, I see a big trend, and it's changed considerably. Even the most pay that you can get is 30, 40, 50,000, $5, $6, $7, $800 outside the country, where you can go some of the other countries, and maybe a U.S. for example, and you can make $5, $6, $7, $8,000 a month. So there is the big difference there, and I've seen a lot of changes in that. The changes also has been that I've seen is everybody is wanting to find a foreigner for cash, and it's a trend going on. All the girls are saying, "Hey, we want to find a foreigner. We want to be like Filipina P. We want to be like this person's wife. We want to be like that person, Tim K's wife, Chrissy. We want to find someone that's rich." And so that's a new trend. And so Filipinos themselves, and they've done that for the last 5 or 6 years, try to copy, and so they can get that man. Understandable. I'd do the same thing if I was a female. If I lived here and I was here, I would do the same thing. I would do my very best to figure out a way that I can actually find me a man to live with. I mean, who wouldn't? common sense tell you that. We don't care what he is. We don't care how big he is or how fat he is or how much, hey, as long as he can take care of me and my kids, because more than likely, 80% of the time, if you come here, you're going to marry a woman that's going to have kids that's over 25 years old. I guarantee they're going to have a kid or two or three. So, I mean, most Filipinas, if you marry one here, it has a child, and or they're married and lying, and or they're married and trying to scam, and or I've seen more scams than I ever have after the first 4 years I was here. Were there scams? Sure, there was many scams here, but not like it is now. It's this oversaturated with scams. So I thought I'd talk about this today and kind of give people insight on how much has changed here. Yeah, it's changed a lot here. It's considerably. It's changed so much that a lot of guys are saying, I don't like it here, and going back where before they just say, I'm just going to stay here for a while and really see. Just because I see it happen don't mean I'm going to leave here. But now they're coming and staying and going to other countries, and they're just heading back to the States. But the great idea about living here is this. The smartest thing to do is this. Don't make this your home country where you're stuck in a situation where you can't leave. Make it to where you can come here, leave, and come back. Just do it like snowbirds, like Canadians to Florida. You go Canadian to Florida, Florida to Canada, Florida to Canada. You're back and forth to Canada. Same thing in people live in Buffalo. They come to Florida and live 4 months, and then 5 months the rest of the year up there. And so that happens a lot. So anyway, I thought I'd talk about this today. Hopefully you guys like this. I know I'm at 17 minutes, so I didn't want to just drag. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time on Tom and Ruth Podcast.